Good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Happiness Hussy coming at you today. And today I have my friend Tricia Clark with me, who is a mealtime and relationship mentor. And she and I are going to share with you our top 5 tips. And I just put up 10 fingers, so counting's hard. Our top 5 tips to feast and family bliss. So 5, just one hand, but I was really excited. So it wasn't really about the 10. It was just, I was excited to share with you. So we know we're heading into the holiday season, and we really just wanted to come on and share some tips to make that a little bit more smooth for you, because we know that sometimes those family gatherings can be less than fun. They can be a little stressful. They can be a little stressful in a number of areas. And we just wanted to share some tips to make that a little more smooth for you today. So good morning,
Absolutely.
Tricia. How are you today before we dive
Good
all the way in?
morning. I'm doing well. Happy Black Friday.
Yes, Black
As we're talking
Friday.
about holidays
Yeah,
and the seasons and, the holiday hustle and bustle. It I guess officially kicks off today, right?
I guess. Yeah. So
For
I'm
us in
obviously
the
I'm
States
in.
anyway. You guys had
Yeah.
Thanksgiving last month, right?
I would like everybody be like such loving people, reaching out to say happy Thanksgiving. And I'm like, I receive all of that. We did that 6 weeks ago or thereabouts, but I'm happy to continue receiving the love. So feel free to send it. And I'm wishing all of my American friends or anybody else who's, celebrating this time of year with some gratitude, with some family, and with some feasting, sending you all some love back. So hopefully you'll find these 5 tips really helpful. Hopefully they will help you to lean into the holiday season armed with maybe a few new ideas and perspectives just to make it go a little bit more smoothly. Now, you can't change the circus around you, right? But this is about you arming yourself with some new perspectives and ways that you can start to respond instead of react to the chaos that can sometimes be happening all around us. So, Tricia, do you want to share the first key tip that we have to share today and share a little bit? So we're going to kind of divide this up. Tricia's going to talk a little bit about like the food and from like a health perspective and like integrating, because there's so much good food around the holidays to eat. So Tricia's going to be sharing some tips around that kind of part of it. And then I'm going to tag team and I'm going to talk a little bit about the family and the relationships and the interaction with our people. So Tricia, do you want to kick us off with tip number 1?
Yeah. Yeah. First, let me say I'm super excited because for me, my whole thing is the food and the connections piece and that family piece are really, really interlaced. And we have a tendency to think of them as separate, right? And so I think this is really great because how we approach the food during the holidays ultimately affects those family connections. And at the end of the day, that's really what we want out of the holidays, right? That's really
You
what we
know,
want is that connection.
yeah. And the way we approach one thing is often the way we approach many things. So you're going to see in our 5 tips that there's a lot of overlap and sort of the strategies are really applicable in many areas of life. You might even be able to extrapolate some of these into and way beyond this topic that we're covering today. But let's dive in.
Yeah. So the first key is preparation, right? And I don't just mean prepare the food,
Yeah.
I mean plan ahead. You got to plan ahead. And for me, when it comes to the food, it's really about creating a menu well in advance. And that sounds really simple on the surface. You're probably going, want. Yeah, I've heard that before. But it's critical to create that menu and a detailed shopping list. But what I want you to think about is you need to consider how long each of those recipes is going to take. And you're going to find that a lot of these tips really interlace with each other as well, right? So we're going to talk about preparation, but when you're preparing, you kind of have to be aware about how long is it going to take me to create this menu to actually execute it? And is that too much? Or am I just totally off my rocker here with it's not the time to bust out a new gourmet menu? Okay. It's just not.
Talk
So,
about
and what I'll
stress.
tell you is, right? That's how you create your own stress
Yeah.
and your own vortex, right? And so I'm guilty of this myself. So this can really even catch the most seasoned cook off guard because we want to impress. Like if you like to cook, it's your love language. If you don't like to cook, you're wanting to impress, right? So we all get wrapped up in the same feelings, regardless of where you are on that journey. So create that menu, think about what you can execute, and create that detailed shopping list. And do that far ahead of time in order to prevent your last minute stress. The other thing about preparation is when you're creating that menu, think about preparation, but think about what can be done ahead of time. Can I pick pies? Can I pick casseroles? I'm going to use Thanksgiving stuffing as an example because you can prep that ahead of time, bake it and freeze it, and then reheat it, right? So I really love to find blogs, recipes, resources that line all that out for me to say, this can be prepared 2 days ahead of time. Because if I can get a jump start on it before I travel for the holidays or before everybody starts coming in, I'm much more at ease and more welcoming when they come into my space, right?
Yeah. And more
So it's
available for the
not just about
family.
how we approach, but that energy we put off is how we welcome people,
Yeah. And then you're more
right?
available to actually spend time connecting
Yeah,
with family because you're not in the kitchen all day long. It just makes sense.
right. We all know that we use onions, celery, and carrots a gazillion, right? When it comes to Christmas and Thanksgiving and the holidays. Chop those bad boys up ahead of time and just have a food storage container before everybody comes in, before the day you start cooking. It's not about cooking your whole menu ahead of time. It's about finding the things that will save you time the day of. And so for me, that's really where preparation comes in, is it's thinking through those things even a week or two out. And I have a tendency to make that menu and then I backtrack on that menu. Like this one's going to take me 30 minutes, 2 hours, whatever. And it's kind of like creating myself a schedule and what can be prepped ahead so that I walk into that day knowing exactly what I need to do.
And that's really smart because I don't know about anybody else, when you're cooking a lot of things, as we usually do for a big holiday
Mhm.
dinner, there's just a lot of coordination that goes into it. You don't necessarily want all the things ready at different times. So you do have to have this plan, right? So that it can come together
Mhm.
at the approximately the right time. Some stuff will hold, but you don't want to have one thing ready and be waiting on other things, right? So thank you for
Right.
sharing that amazing advice. And I will say, this all translates over into the family connections as well. We want to plan ahead. We want to reflect
Mhm.
on the past situations. We want to do perhaps some like mental rehearsal, as we would say. And this is sort of anticipating some of those potentially challenging circumstances or conversations that we might encounter and have a plan for how we're going to respond so that we don't react out of an emotional space. We have a plan of how we're going to deal with that if it comes up. And one really big tip that I have as far as suggestions so that you maybe avoid getting sucked into the drama is to imagine that everything around you is like a movie. Okay. You're watching the movie. You're not acting in the movie. So not everything that's happening in the movie requires you to be emotionally involved, right? So if you can sort of take that just half step back and observe, that will actually create enough space so that you can create a response that actually feels good to you instead of reacting in the moment from an emotional place. Humans are
I
fascinating.
love that. That's protecting your energy too, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's kind
And
of a shields up, but you're involved from a distance. I love that
yeah, it's
perspective
just
of thinking about it as a movie.
yeah, just it's more of a just like an awareness, right? So you're aware of what's going on and then consciously choosing what involvement you're going to have in
Mhm.
that. And not all problems, need your involvement. So if you want to keep it drama free, that's up to you, right? You're going to monitor your responses. And sometimes just mentally rehearsing that, going through it in your mind ahead of time can really help you to practice makes progress, right? If we haven't done something before, it really helps us to rehearse it and practice it ahead of time. And that's how we get better at things as well. And then also just sharing the plan. I think it's really important if we're all sort of on the same page as far as what the plan is, there's less likelihood that we're going to butt heads, run into conflict, or have problems over the schedule or who's doing what or whatever else as it's coming
Mhm.
together. So just getting some of that clarity in advance can take a lot of stress off.
Yes, so
Yeah.
true. So true. And I think a lot of what you said can just be used even at the dinner table on a regular basis
Yeah.
as well. Whatever the dinner table looks like for you, if that's in front of the TV, if that's around a proverbial table, that can be said for even observing what's going on with you and your children or them and your children and your spouse at the table before you react as well. It's not just
Yeah.
holidays.
I mean, in every situation, this is
Mhm.
completely applicable when you're interacting with someone else. It is really helpful just to take that half step back, like zoom out just a little bit, right? And allow yourself just a moment to breathe before responding. It will make a world of difference. Now,
I'm
let's,
totally stealing that and giving you credit, by the way.
yeah, I steal away, my friends, steal away. let's dive into tip number 2. And I'm not going to put both hands up so before then. So tip 2. This is like one of my favorite, like, it's like the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, silly. And it's really just about not overcomplicating things because, well, complications add to stress. So we want to avoid that.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the food, I'm going to go back to that meal plan a little bit, and I'm going to say, keep it simple. As I mentioned before, like, you want to choose dishes. I didn't mention this, but choose dishes that are easy to make. Maybe you don't have a ton of ingredients. I mentioned it's not time to break out a brand new gourmet menu, but maybe if you want to amp something up a little bit and experiment, go all out on one dish that you're experimenting with, right?
Good tip.
But outside of that, maybe you just add something fun to like a staple of mashed potatoes. If you're normally just a butter and cream mashed potato girl, maybe you want to throw in some rosemary and some garlic. It's going to look different. It's going to taste elevated, but you still kept it really simple and you didn't like change everything around from the classics that you're used to, or again, overburdening yourself with the amount of stuff that you get done. But my favorite tip where this is concerned is potluck style. I love me a good potluck, for a good Midwesterner term, but I love a good potluck style, right? Because what it does is it allows us to ask for help rather than taking on all the ownership ourselves, which is amazing. Whether you're asking a family member or a friend, it distributes the workload, which takes work off of you. What you may not be thinking about, though, is it gives people an opportunity to contribute, which does what? It gives them an opportunity to feel seen, loved, heard, and more welcome. It gives them an opportunity to express themselves in some way. And with whatever dish they bring, they're sharing a piece of themselves with you that also allows you to get to know them at a deeper level. And I don't think we think about food that way in terms of a potluck. We get the connection. We get that it's like this hodgepodge and variety of flavors and textures we get excited about, but it's really more than that. And just to kind of drive that point home before we move on to your portion, is we have a big Memorial Day party every year. And I've always loved it. And my husband has worked in the IT world for 30 something years. So very diverse group of employees in IT, right? And so we've always done a potluck style. We provide one or two things. We have everybody bring their favorite dish or what they're known for. Well, we had Percy from Sri Lanka bring his version of fried rice. We had Delia from China who brought her mom's egg rolls, the recipe that she learned. We had somebody else who brings brisket every year. But it really helped us see and get to know these people at a different level. And so I really encourage you to embrace the potluck, because and there's always going to be a story with the dish that they bring. Always. Even if it's chips and dip, they're going to tell you why they brought chips and dip.
And
right?
it just really fosters a greater sense of community as well, right? Just is bringing people together. And I love what you said. Like, it is really about giving people an opportunity to really be seen and recognized and witnessed in their special, I'll say offering, that might not be the right word, but whatever they're bringing to show you, right? It really does provide that connection in ways that extend way beyond just the dish itself. I love that, because this ties into the next piece of what I wanted to share about the connection piece. It's really about the memory making, right? It's something special when you can remember that they brought this special dish, and now you remember that special thing. You learn something new about them. It really deepens the connection. So it really creates new memories, new emotional ties, create these exceptional memories that now are in your memory bank forever. And how special is that? Now, because we're keeping it simple here, we don't want to get too complicated with this. This is a great way to create some easy memories without having to do a lot of effort. A lot of times we can get really carried away trying to plan a lot of really specific activities. And I've never really been one of those moms that like has to plan all of the exceptional things. Like, you know, the moms that have like the birthdays with the treat bag, and then they're doing this and that and the 5 other things. And like, that's never been my jam. I just feel like it puts so much pressure, not only on you as the mom doing that, but on the other moms that are witnessing you bringing treat bags into the classroom for every occasion. It just gives me anxiety to think about all of that.
I tried to be her.
Pressure.
I tried to be her, and it didn't. It was miserable. It was absolutely miserable. And so my first kid got all of that, and the second one got none of that. And I'm like, I don't think he's any worse off.
Yeah.
But,
And I mean, if you
it
love
is.
it, if you love it,
Right.
like
If you love it,
I'm
you
not
do
knocking
you.
on your parade, you do you. But if you're feeling like you have to, or that you should,
Mhm.
so that you can keep up, that is not the energy. We're wanting to just scale that back, keep it a little bit more simple. Even spending time watching a movie or playing a board game, just having a nice conversation can be much more connective and therefore much more valuable than making elaborate plans. And then, of course,
Absolutely.
you know, this is about quality, right? It's not about the number of things that you do. It's about really deepening that connection, spending that time together, doing things that you love together. It doesn't have to be complicated.
No, no. Which really leads us into tip number
Yeah.
3.
Number 3.
Okay. All right, which is practice self-awareness, right? So as we talk about the food side, it leads back into that quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Know your limits. If you're feeling overwhelmed, consider scaling it back, or again, asking for the help. Refer back to potluck, right? Forgo the beautifully set table that you saw on Pinterest and serve everything buffet style on your kitchen counter with some super cute paper plates.
Yeah.
Like,
So much less
nobody
cleanup.
cares.
Love
I
that idea.
promise you. Oh, so much less cleanup. Have the plastic cups and a Sharpie, because I promise you, especially coming out of these last 2 years of a pandemic, people are gonna wanna know which glass is theirs. I don't care how pretty it is. Like, they need a way to tell which drink is theirs, because
Yeah.
we're not sharing germs these days, right?
No, we're really not doing that anymore.
No,
And I mean,
no, we're
knowing
not
your
doing that
limits
anymore.
as far as how much you're going to even enjoy and ingest in your own personal meal is a really good
Mhm.
tip too, right? So that you're not overindulging.
Yes.
Nobody wants that whole turkey hangover. So this one applies across multiple food categories.
It really does, it really does, and part of that too is staying calm, right? So whether it's in the cooking of it or in the consuming of it, I'm gonna start with the cooking of it. Mistakes happen. And just take a deep breath and move forward, because I will tell you, even bad food and kitchen mishaps create amazing memories, laughter, and conversation. If you
Absolutely.
can laugh at yourself, everyone else will laugh with you. But if we get caught up in that vicious circle in the head of I failed again, perfectionism, then what do? We start mindlessly eating, we start overindulging because we're eating our feelings instead of enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
So practice that self-awareness of taking a deep breath even if things are getting stressful. It's okay. It's okay, and just laugh it off and move forward. And again, as you can see, practice self-awareness, keeping it simple. They all really work together. And I'll let you talk about the family side of it, because I think we're kind of saying the same thing, but
Absolutely. We totally are. I think, you know, whether you're cooking or eating or having a conversation with your family members, it is really important to be aware of what's going on inside of you, right? Being aware
Mhm.
of what you're feeling, what you're thinking. And now, sidebar, you're not your thoughts, you're not your feelings. So again, taking that just half step back to observe. Okay, that means not judging, not storytelling, not making it into a bigger deal, but just noticing what's going on inside of you can really help you to create enough awareness and enough space to choose instead of running on autopilot and doing things like numbing out with 10 more glasses of wine because Uncle Bob is annoying, right? And as well, you know, just giving yourself some space, because if something is really getting to you, hello, overstimulation, you know, overload, stress, maybe a triggering conversation, or maybe Uncle Bob is already, you know, 2 sheets to the wind, taking a break is okay, right? It's okay to step
Mhm.
away for a moment, regather your composure, and just really check in. What is going on? And what do you need? Because your well-being is really important here. And if you're not checking in and spending a little bit of time, you know, taking breaks when you need it, things can escalate really quickly. And that's where we can really run into some
Mhm.
of those conflicts and problems that unfortunately have the capacity to take our lovely family occasion and turn it into a bit of a nightmare. So we want to really just take that step back. If we're starting to feel overstimulated or upset or triggered by what someone else is saying, it's okay to just excuse yourself to the powder room. We'll say it real polite today, and just take a few deep breaths. And actually, I'm going to share below. I have a couple of 5-minute sweary meditations that would be perfect for this. So if you're feeling the stress of the family dinner and you just need a little break to reset, I've got a couple of sweary meditations. It's going to help you just to feel really fucking awesome so that you can breathe, regain your composure, get back out there, and consciously choose how you're going to respond from then on. Just give you a chance to check in with yourself.
I love your swearing meditations, by the way.
They're super fun,
They're
right?
amazing. They are super fun.
They're not just your regular old, like boring, like, you know, sit still and be quiet kind of meditations. They're quick, they're to the point, like there's no messing around. I want you to leave real fast feeling a complete shift in your energy. And I think that's the feedback I've been getting, is that that has been accomplished with that. So yeah. Right. Shall we move on to tip number 4?
We should. Yeah. What is it?
Stay flexible. And I don't mean bendy, although honestly, that's actually not a bad idea either.
A couple of yoga stretches, and when you take that little break, they'll
help you recover from the turkey faster.
Yeah. So to me, this is really all about having backup plans, right? Always having an alternative or backup dish in case something doesn't go as planned. And I don't mean like a second prepared casserole. I mean like a frozen pie you can throw in the oven because your pumpkin pie didn't set up right. I mean some Bob Evans mashed potatoes in the fridge you can heat up if something, let's say you accidentally added sugar instead of salt. Like, I just mean little things, right? Maybe it's an extra package of rolls because you forgot about the first batch in the oven and you burnt them, right? And then it's really about being adaptable. Most recipes you can leave out unless you're baking, but most recipes you can leave out an ingredient. Nobody's going to notice. Yeah. Nobody is going to notice. I go back to let it go. Now, if you follow me or get in touch with me about one of my offers, I have an amazing solution for this kitchen 911 moment that I would love to tell you more about if we connect, but it's amazing. And I call it your personal kitchen witch. And so when you have those moments and you're like, I don't know what the backup plan is, I'm out of, my niece called me, she was making pumpkin pie the other night and said, I'm out of brown sugar. I don't know what to do. And I was like, sugar, white sugar and molasses. She was like, wait, what? So all of those, they're easy fixes.
I mean, Google it, because there is, for most of those things, there's a fairly simple fix and things you might have in your cupboard already. Yeah,
there is. And the only reason I love the kitchen witch is more than the gut is because it's not going to give you 25 different solutions to choose from. I'll give you 1 or 2. So, but yes, there are always answers. So
if you're in a pinch, I mean, at go time, if you don't have this in advance, of course, we're all planning and we're having everything ready in advance, right? So we don't have to worry about it at the last minute, but things happen too.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, as far as relating to the family goes, first of all, we want to remain flexible in that area too, which just means we're open to adapting to the circumstances around us, unexpected changes to the plans. You know, things don't go always according to plan. In fact, I find most of the time, there's always something that doesn't go according to plan. And so just having this slight amount of flexibility to adjust on the run and trying to maintain a positive attitude, because we're all human. We all make mistakes. We are all perfectly imperfect, but we don't get it right every single time. And so being really open and flexible to just keep going when things don't go the right way is going to save, well, it's going to save you, first of all, a lot of stress. And it's going to save a lot of chaos in the circumstances around you as well, because if you start to get really stressy, your energy starts to feel out into the other people and people feel it and then they get stressy and it's just like bad news bears. So trying to take some deep breaths, right? Say, step away, come back if you need to, bring that positive attitude. Remember, we're not perfect, right? Carry on, head high.
Right.
And then, you know, just to go along with that is just managing expectations. And if you go in knowing things might not go perfectly, then you're a little bit more able to adapt when they don't. So the key thing about this whole family gathering is to be present, to really enjoy the moment, to enjoy the connection. It's not to get lost in the details. It's not to worry about how things didn't go the right way. It's not to worry about how much, you know, Aunt Joe has had to drink. It's to be present in the moment. And that's for you and nobody else. I mean, we want everybody to be present, but you can only control you. So really just focusing on yourself, being present is going to change, most importantly, your experience of the holidays.
Right. Well, just like that positive, excited energy is contagious, that calming energy is contagious too. Yeah. So you can, I'm not going to say control the situation, but you can definitely influence the situation by maintaining that calm for yourself. Because
Yep.
Kind of like that old adage we hate to hear, leading by example, right? But
But it's true
it
though.
works.
The
Works.
energy that we put out comes back. It gets mirrored back to
Hmm.
us by the people around us and the circumstances around us. And now it's not to say that we're making those people do that, but you're right. It is contagious. They can't
Yeah,
help it.
energy is energy. I mean, it's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
All right, are we ready for number 5? Okay. Self-care amidst the chaos. And I know you're like, wah, wah, wah. Like the season, I'm like, if I'm hosting holidays, I'm taking care of everybody else. No, you
Mm-mm.
still self-care for you amidst the chaos is still critical. So we're going to talk about the nutrition side a little bit here. Now, I'll be clear, I'm not a health coach. I'm not a nutritionist. I love carbs and cocktails, and I love everything in moderation. So, but I think it's important as we talk about the holidays and food and the abundance of food, right? Like
Yes.
the
Yes.
heaping plates of all the goodness.
And I used to be a
Um,
nutrition coach. I mean, it's still in my wheelhouse, but I have always still been about the carbs and the cocktails, although I'm drinking less these days. It's about, YOLO. In many ways, YOLO, these are special occasions. The problem comes when you're YOLOing every day, right?
yes.
So it's about
Or
balance.
going from ditch to ditch, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we talk about when it's this is the holidays, it is time to indulge a little bit. Just balance it out with some healthy options too. And so some of my favorites are having a fruit platter, whether that's to serve with the meal or you just have it out while you're noshing and making sure you get those healthy foods in while you're preparing the carb-laden goodies that everybody's excited for, right? The crudité platter, which is a fancy word for vegetable platter, kind of like charcuterie for a meat and cheese board, right? Like just
Yeah.
call it what it is. But again, kind of like the fruits, having those out as those easy snacks for an appetizer, again, kind of nourishes everybody as well as yourself as you're waiting for the big event or the big meal, if you will. And then grilled veggie skewers are always one that are just amazing to have out, and they're easy and simple, but most of all, just enjoy it without the guilt. And I like to go through the buffet line of the Thanksgiving stuff and take like one spoonful of everything that looks good to me so I can try a bite of all the things.
Yeah.
And then I can compliment so and so on the sweet potato casserole. And, it gives me a chance again to help those people feel seen, loved, and heard. But it doesn't mean I have to overindulge on it. And then I can go back and get another spoonful or a bigger helping of the things that I really loved out of, that plethora of bites on my plate. But I'm usually pretty full by the time I get around that. And so what I choose to fill my plate with, it's far less than it would have been if I'd have just gone and put the big heaping scoop on my plate to begin with. And so that's kind of where I land in
Yeah.
the whole overindulgence when it comes to food and really being self-aware about what I put in my body.
And it's so easy to do that heaping plate.
Hmm.
That's it's actually really just bringing in a little bit of awareness actually here can be a form of self-love, because nobody feels good when they have overstuffed themselves and their pants are popping and they got to lie down, right? It's just,
Right.
it doesn't feel very good, and it's easy to end up there. So while you're eating, it can be really helpful just to be mindful, to really enjoy every single bite so that you are actually enjoying the thing, not distracted by what's going on around you. Ideally you're not on your devices, you're having a conversation and you're being really present and aware. This is how we create memories in these holiday experiences,
Hmm.
by being there in the room fully, all of you. And if you're mindful about it, ideally you'd like to stop eating when you feel about 80% full, right? Because our brain and our stomach have different timelines. And so if you feel like you're 80% full, you're probably close to 100% full, and you can avoid that really
Hmm.
uncomfortable, I need to lie down, I can't move, my buttons popped off my pants, all of that. And then you will feel better, which means that your family interactions for the rest of the evening will
Hmm.
be better because you feel better. When we feel better, we tend to do better. We tend to be more aware, more conscious of what we're doing and
Yeah.
the things that we're creating as far as conversations. I mean, listen, we can't fill from an empty cup. So that's what this self-care piece is all about. And I know the overused analogy of like putting on your own oxygen mask or the filling up the cup. But the truth is, if you are depleted and exhausted, you are not going to be of service to very many people. So taking a little bit of me time amidst the prep, amidst the busyness, amidst the chaos, even if it's, like I say, quick break to the bathroom, quick stroll around the block, even if it's just literally to pause where you are and take 3 deep breaths. No one even has to know, right? You can just take those deep breaths, calm yourself, and or that swearing meditation that I mentioned as well, just so you can come back feeling cool as a cucumber, chill, and ready to tackle what's in front of you. And if you're preparing all of this, and even if you're not, if you're involved in planning in any way, give yourself some love, recognize your own efforts. Don't get trapped in that it's not good enough, or is it good enough, or I don't know, like I should be doing more, or any of that. You are amazing, right?
Yeah. Or even the apathy of, oh, it's no big deal. It is a
Oh,
big deal.
it is a
Oh,
big
it's
deal.
nothing.
Give yourself a little
Yeah.
pat on the back for your efforts. Maybe other people might not give that to you, but you can give that to yourself and celebrate all of the amazing effort that you have put in and be proud of yourself for that. So, anything else to add, Tricia?
No, the only thing I have to add, you mentioned your swearing
Yeah.
meditations, and I have pulled together, we've talked about Uncle Bob and his 10 glasses of wine. And then you might have, Grandma Ethel who shares the same 3 stories all the time. You're like, yeah, I've heard this one at least 500 times before.
Yeah.
Or you have the brother who likes to be the antagonist and he brings up the political discussions, and
Oh, always a gooder.
or you've got, whoever that says something wildly inappropriate. The room gets uncomfortable. It's crickets, right? Or maybe you have new people coming in that are shy and uncomfortable, right? So I pulled together 20 conversation starters
Mhm.
that I have for you to just really create more connection, conversation, and laughter around your table. And I carry these everywhere on cards, but the idea is really getting to know your people on a different level, but it's also asking questions that are outside of the norm that create conversation. So, for example, if our family were to appear, or if you were to appear on a game show and you could pick one family member to join you, what game show would it be and who would you choose? Right. And then somebody might be offended, like playfully offended, and want to know why. But like, can you see how that just starts this whole thing? Right. And they're just fun questions like that. Like, what's your dream vacation? But it's something different other than talking about school, the weather, what do you want for Christmas? When are you going to start having babies? Like
Oof, those
all
ones.
the, right.
All those
When are you going to get married? Do you have a
expectation laden
girlfriend?
stuff. Ooh, yeah.
What are you studying in school?
Yeah.
Because they don't know what else to say. And this gives everybody an opportunity to think about something different to say. So we'll be sure to have a link below for those, but I find them great fun. And I hope that they help really, amp up the fun of your holiday gathering.
Yeah. And hopefully just lighten the mood, create some new memories, and have
Yeah.
some fun. So I hope that you have found these tips to be helpful. I know they're like really intertwined. So 5 tips they're all really interconnected, but I hope that you will find that they make your holidays a little bit more manageable, a little bit more enjoyable, so that you can really enjoy the celebration and the time of connection together. And as
Yes.
always, if you have questions, comments, or feedback, please don't hesitate to reach out. We will throw those resources down below so that you can grab the swearing meditations and the conversation starters so that you can kick off your holiday season prepared and ready to have an absolute blast. Thanks so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to share this conversation with you, Tricia. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's my favorite stuff to talk about, obviously. So thanks for having me. And I look forward to connecting more.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. I love you all. Let's go do some epic shit.